Good evening. A big day in Boise, Idaho. The jury in the Chad Daybell murder trial has a case in their hands. News specialist Lauren Steinbrecher and Daniel Woodruff live in Boise with team coverage for us this evening. Going to start things off with Lauren and the closing arguments leading up to this moment. Lauren?
Mike, so that jury is in deliberations right now inside of the courthouse after spending most of the day listening to closing arguments, where both the prosecution and the defense put on their last case, their last effort on Chad Daybell's guilt or innocence.
One final word to jurors.
3 dead bodies on the defendant, Chad Daybell's property and or in the residence.
Prosecutor Lindsay Blake spent 2 hours recapping the evidence they presented the last several weeks in the murders of Chad Daybell's late wife, Tammy, and the 2 children of his now wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, during the couple's affair.
And for what? Money, power, and sex. That's what the defendant cared about.
Blake reminding jurors the terrible details of J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan's deaths and the radical religious beliefs they say Chad used to carry it all out.
Common theme, Chad has the answers, Chad has the knowledge, Chad has that special ability.
Defense attorney John Pryor then spent an hour and a half arguing it was all Lori and her late brother Alex Cox who killed the kids and buried them on Chad's property without Chad knowing.
There has not been any evidence saying, we're going to kill the kids. We're going to kill Tammy.
Pryor also insisting Tammy wasn't murdered.
And he did have an affair, folks. He had an affair. But the affair doesn't mean he killed anybody.
A final word, a final push before the big decision.
Chad says who's dark. Chad says death percentages. And 3 bodies are located in his house or on his property.
If you have doubt about what happened here, the verdict has to be not guilty.
It's unclear how long deliberations will last this evening, if the jury will decide to go late into the night or if they'll call it a night at some point and come back again tomorrow. We are keeping track and refreshing the page where they're going to be sending out those updates, and we will stay here until a verdict is reached. Mike.
All right, Lauren Steinbrecher live tonight. Lauren, thank you for that. Our team coverage continues with Daniel Woodruff and what jurors might actually be thinking as they heard closing arguments and began deliberating today. Daniel?
Yeah, Mike, we got some insight into that because among the people watching the trial here in Boise is a juror from last year's trial for Lori Vallow Daybell, Chad Daybell's wife. Lori, of course, in that case was convicted on all counts. Tom Evans was on that jury but did not end up deliberating that case as he was dismissed at the very end as an alternate. But he tells us that his mind in that case was really made up about halfway through the trial, and he believes it's probably the same for many of the jurors in this trial. He also talked about how complex this case is. After all, Chad Daybell's murder trial has now gone on for 9 weeks.
It's a really convoluted case with a lot of pieces. And I think the prosecution has done an amazing job of presenting it in a way that makes sense, but still they have to reinforce that and go back over things.
All told today, jurors heard hours and hours of closing arguments just wrapping up a little bit ago. Now their big task to deliberate and decide whether Chad Daybell is guilty or not. We're all awaiting that verdict here in Boise, Mike.
All right, Daniel Woodruff live for us tonight. Daniel, keep on top of things. We'll check back with you if we need to. Thank you. We have been streaming this trial since it first began, and we will be doing the very same thing when the verdict comes down. So be sure to download the free KSL Plus app.